Hello and welcome to the Comicspiracy episode 139 for the week of Monday, December 30th, 2013. I hope you all had a great Christmas, man. All the gifts I got and all the things we did and everything. Oof. And it's almost New Year's. Woo, party time. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Oh, Measy.
Partying like it's 2014, Bryce.
Joined once again, Toby's out, but we have Lane.
What's up, Lane?
Lane came back for a
Red
second
shirt,
week in a row.
You're going to die.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Is he red shirt? Yeah. Lane is red shirt? Oh, you bastard.
And Charlie.
All right. Charlie has to leave, unfortunately, very quickly. So we are going to give the floor over to Charlie to start us off with our 2013 comics year in review, end of the year podcast here. We're going to spend roughly the next hour or so talking about our favorite new series as well as our favorite ongoing series and all the various comics from Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, and all these other companies that publish these fine periodicals we read every, maybe one or two once or twice a week. That's about my reading schedule these days, unfortunately. So with Charlie, we're going to let you front load this podcast with your stuff, and then you get a jet. When we're done, though, we're going to talk about the Infinity Gauntlet, our Comic Conspiracy Book Club pick of the month that I chose. Before we leave it off to Brock to choose his next pick for the month of January 2014, starting us off.
Ugh, pressure.
But Charlie, let's get into some of this here. Again, no order, no list or anything. Just however you want to do this. Some books you enjoyed this year from 2013, ongoings. As well as stuff that has been previously going on, and then give us your favorite couple new books of the year. I want to hear about those too.
So in terms of ongoings, I've kind of decided to throw that over to Throne of Atlantis for the most part, just because I loved that story arc within Justice League and Aquaman, and I think Justice League as a book has stayed consistently one of my favorite reads, whereas I would have used to be able to give it to Green Lantern. But
speaking of the biggest failures of 2013.
Yeah. But the Justice League book I'm still really enjoying, really liking the Forever Evil stuff. So that's definitely up there for me. Favorite news series, though, I have to give to Samurai Jack because I love Samurai Jack, and I love the fact that Jim Zub is writing. I love the fact that one of the original artists from Samurai Jack is doing the art for it. So,
and this is the IDW series. Now, does this stay in continuity with the show at all?
Yeah,
or new stories. Or?
Yeah. Well, the great things about Samurai Jack is there was no direct continuity from episode to episode for the most part. It was all one-off stories, so it fits directly within just additional adventures of Jack, and I'm perfectly happy with that. It's one of those things that reading any kind of one where it's got the property picked up, you want it to feel like it's a continuation of what you've been watching or whatnot. And I thought in terms of Samurai Jack, they've done it pretty much perfectly. So I'm uber happy with that.
Nice.
I also want to give a shout out to Trillium because that's one of those books that... So there's certain books that I kind of feel push the envelope a little bit in terms of the way you read them or using the comic medium differently. And I think, especially in terms of reading Trillium in print, I have been very impressed with how they have the sort of two storylines going on in the issues. And I really, really like that book. So I definitely wanted to mention it. And while I do like the Harley Quinn series that started this week with the number one, so I'm still saying
You mean 3 weeks ago?
Well, yeah.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago. I don't know. No comics came out this week.
No, there's plenty. A couple comics came out last week. You are correct.
Forever Evil was here.
Yeah, and Justice League. Those are great issues. We'll talk about those.
Ryan's been sick forever.
We'll talk about more than likely this cold is really going to last us long. So we'll talk about those issues next week.
Any of it.
Ryan's always nasally.
I don't know.
I am.
I'm all turned around. Whatever. But I want to talk about Harley Quinn Zero again because that was a awesome book, and it's one of those that even if you don't have any interest in picking up the series, the fact that they just kind of have fun breaking the fourth wall and highlighting a bunch of artists and what they're known for and their styles and just sort of celebrating the medium, I love that book.
Cool. Is that everything?
Those Jim Lee reprints were really nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that covered, like, there's so many comics. I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton. And there's all sorts of ones that deserve an honorable mention, even over at Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Even over. You mean especially over at Marvel.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
The fun of saying it and then immediately looking at Bryce.
Don't worry, faithful listeners. Once
It's going to move around the table.
it goes around, it's going to be all Marvel.
We'll get there.
But then it's going to go back to DC.
Well,
So predictable.
Charlie, thank you for coming all this way for 4 minutes.
Wow.
You know,
Of course.
you know, so thank you for stopping by, Charlie, and we'll see you next year. Everyone say goodbye to Charlie.
Happy Boxing Day.
Bye,
Oh, no,
Charlie.
wait, that was last week.
Go put those books back and don't leave too loudly. All right.
Jeez.
Let's start with, Charlie had to do that to get out of here pretty quick. So let's go with some series. Start with the ongoings, and we'll hit up the new ones. Lane, you're like Toby and like myself. You know, you barely read comic books despite buying a whole ton of them. You're caught up on some stuff. What's some ongoing titles you've filled? Not ones that started this year. Let's go.
Not started?
Yeah. Let's go around the table first with ones that were from various, that had started previous. Were New 52 Marvel now, ongoing indie books, anything.
Well, I think the generic one would always be Batman.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a lot of people, so simple.
Steiner Capullo,
Yep.
killing it still.
Maybe biased, but I had to put Little Gotham's up there.
That start this year, or was that actually start last
No,
year? Oh, I guess it started last year.
It started the year before.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess the digital
the
one.
digital version.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Print started.
I'll allow it. You heard he's ending it, right?
Yes. It's
Yeah.
going to end soon, unfortunately. Well, he's got a lot of other work to do now, so.
Including an issue of Batman.
Yeah. Well, he's doing fill-ins, I heard, on Eternal.
Isn't he not one of the main artists on it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
He's one of the
he's
one of the rotating artists on Eternal. Yeah, Dustin Nguyen. So you should like that. You should like that, Omar.
Yeah, no.
It's one of your Asians.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. Layman, buddy. Layman.
Yeah. Anything else jumping out at you?
trying to think. Long term.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, just any of the ongoing titles. Not long term, but yeah, just something that didn't start. I kind of want to break up the new books this year. Give those guys a little shout out because there's a lot of new good books came out this year.
Yeah, still enjoying Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, buddy. Not for too much longer.
Yeah, it's only got another
RIP.
issue or two, right?
Yeah.
No, I thought
R.I.P.
the new writers coming in.
It's a relaunch.
Yeah.
It's not Jason Aaron though.
Yeah, that's
disappointing.
That is true. Well, we'll
I don't
see.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember the new guy that's taken over, but I can't remember who it is. But I'm not super familiar with him. So
I don't know. I've been keeping up a little behind, but I've been enjoying Avengers. The early run of Avengers.
Which
Yeah.
one, Lane?
Just Avengers. The Hickman run. And
Which Hickman Avengers, Lane?
I haven't caught up, so
he hasn't read new
killing
yet.
me.
He's only read the new.
Hey, thanks for trying to feed him, bro. I appreciate the assist.
I'm about 5 issues behind right now, so I'm just at the infinity point.
Well, read up. You have a lot in store for you.
Oh yeah, I do.
Nothing
I'm
else?
sure there's more, but I'll stop there. Okay. I'll think more.
Bryce, I'm sure you got a list. Hit us.
I actually do have a list. Are you sure you want to go to me next?
Yeah, go around the table. So, favorite ongoing books this year, books that had already previously started, not new in 2013. Marvel, DC, Indie. I know. A couple of your picks.
Ongoing. Okay, so we're going to get to the new books from this year.
That'll be
later.
the second one. Yeah, we'll do that later.
Okay, well, I really wish that Charlie had stuck around because I thought Throne of Atlantis was crap. No. Seriously, though, I actually did like Throne of Atlantis. I just thought that it was so much more... It had so much more potential for an epic story, and it totally was just like... meh, that happened in... I mean, what was it? Was it a month and a half? Like, it was over and done with way sooner than needed
It was
to be.
like 3 months.
It was 6 issues. 3 in Aquaman, 3 in Justice League.
But they were 1.5 shipping it. I'm certain.
I don't think so.
Oh, only Marvel does that? Okay. So, anyway. All right. So, the point is that, like, Throne of Atlantis could have been a much more epic story. No matter how long it took, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm surprised he picked that over Trinity War.
Trinity War? Exactly.
Trinity War,
I was also
superior
surprised. That was sort of a shocking. My opinion is that he, loves Green Lantern so much because he loves Jeff Johns, because he loves Aquaman, because Jeff Johns is writing it. That's my personal opinion, even though he's also writing Justice League of America. So anyway, my ongoing spiel is going to be much shorter. Love, of course, Saga.
I knew it.
Did you know that I was going to open with a not-Marvel book?
Yeah, I figure if you're going to open with anything, it'd be Saga.
I did. So I did love Saga. I'm just going through my list here. Uncanny Avengers, we already talked about. Great book, still going on. That was 2012, right?
Yeah, I mean, that didn't start this past year, yeah.
Okay, yes. Uncanny Avengers, we already talked. Oh, I'm sorry. We talked last week about. And what a great conversation we had about it last week. Great
Continue
book.
to have,
Look,
have it again right now.
What I was telling you last week was that what Remender's doing not in Captain America in Uncanny Avengers is that he's painting such, and I tweeted this, so I'm going to be sort of, if anybody follows me on Twitter, I'm going to be repeating myself, but he's painting such a rich tapestry in the issue before last of Uncanny Avengers. There's a shot of Wonder Woman or Wonder Man and Rogue sort of flying down this corridor that has all these statues of all of the apocalypses from throughout history, which is like, what? Like, nobody does that. And you can see, like, the past 2 or 3, and, before Archangel there was Apocalypse, and before Apocalypse there was this other guy, and I forget his name off the top of my head, but it shows his name, and just stuff like that where it's like, oh my god, there's so much history that is possible to be delved within that, and, the tapestry that he paints is just so great. Similarly, I don't think that Avengers started this year. Was it last year that it started?
Yeah, no, none of those started this year, no.
Okay, so Avengers, Hickman, it's tough. It's like a double-edged sword because, his biggest detractors will say that, not much is happening. I know that Larry, who's a customer here that doesn't listen to the podcast, but, Higgins as well, also says that, not really a lot is happening, whether it's in Avengers or Infinity. And I know that Josh, who is a listener, says, look, not a lot is happening in Infinity, and or I just don't like it because it's boring, or whatever other reason you have. But you can't deny, in my opinion, that Hickman calculates his plot lines so well that, he did it in Secret Warriors, and I think he did it with Infinity. I think that Infinity tied itself up so well, and I haven't read his run on, was it FF or Fantastic Four or both? But I've heard that he did the same thing there, where he just does such an incredible job of tying things together at the end, so that even if you don't get what he's doing at the beginning, it doesn't matter, because if you just are patient with him, he will make it worth your while in the end. And I think that's what he did with Infinity. I think that's what he's been doing all along with New Avengers. For some totally random reason, maybe it's the artist, he's been doing twice as many issues of Avengers as New Avengers, but whatever. I think that's been great as well.
It's just they're going to cut Avengers back to be monthly as well, because you have that Avengers World book that's coming out.
Got it.
It's going to be 3 monthly books by Hickman.
3 monthly. So it's been how it has been for the past couple months with Infinity.
Right.
So anyway,
well, no, Infinity was a 4th because Avengers was still shipping.
Got it. Anyway, so I think that Hickman, gets a lot of flack for, what is he doing? And maybe gets a little bit of flack for just, being not so linear. But I think that it's worth noting that some people's opinion is that he does a great job of sort of calculating out his stories so that it's done with precision and not a lot is wasted when you come back and read it. Just so that I keep going too long, and I'll try to make it a little more succinct, I want to give a shout out to a couple other ones. Superior Spider-Man, not started this year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Superior Spider-Man. A year ago, Brock and Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, and probably more gentlemen than ladies, would have been like, oh my god, this clown is going to make Dr. Octopus Spider-Man. that is a pretty accurate, representation or review of Brock or Ryan's Superior Spider-Man reviews. Look, Superior
Brock, you should turn your
Spider-Man.
microphone on when you talk.
Damn it. That's still my
Superior
review.
Spider-Man has been an incredible book. So I have not been keeping up as much, other than peripherally, but I've heard through enough sources and other people's telling me so that Superior Spider-Man is worth noting as having been a total. You thought this was going to suck, and in your face, because it is incredible. Because so many people were like, "Oh, you're going to make Doc Ock Spider-Man," and it's actually legitimately very good now. And it's worth saying in your face or whatever, because you totally didn't give it the credit that it was worth getting, that it is worth what it deserves now.
Are you sure you know what you just said?
One of us is Brock.
Okay.
Anyway. So there's that. I also want to give a shout out to Mark Waid's Daredevil. A sort of an unsung book, not getting a lot of props or credit.
What are you talking about? That is generally regarded as the best Marvel book being published.
What are you talking?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
Daredevil?
Yeah.
Like Daredevil and Thor.
Generally
right?
regarded as a very solid book, yes, but generally regarded as the best Marvel book?
Yeah.
Okay,
Review-wise, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then I take back my shout-out and instead want to review it highly, because Daredevil by Mark Waid has been great. I didn't know that it had been getting such great reviews. Apparently it has been. Okay, so I'll just move on. Wolverine and the X-Men. Coming to a close, sadly. Jason Aaron is moving on to Amazing X-Men, so he doesn't have time for Wolverine and the X-Men, so he's sort of, going from one boat to the next. But that was more or less a very strong book. I didn't like every other story arc about, but he did a great job. Was it you I was talking with about how the next Wolverine movie or the next X-Men movie after Apocalypse, can't wait for that, should be Wolverine and the X-Men, about how he's a teacher and about how he's schooling kids and about how he's an older gentleman, badass guy. Anyway, so Wolverine and the X-Men has been great. Sad to see it go, but it's being replaced by Amazing X-Men, so it's almost a non-event. But Jason Aaron did a great job with that. Let's see here. Guardians of the Galaxy, did that start last year?
Guardians was this year.
It was this year? I'll save it for this year then. Okay, that's also this year, that's also this year, and that's also this year. Okay, so I lastly want to call out two very short Brock call-outs. Brock had two gaffes this year that I want to very briefly mention. Brock had more than two gaffes, but I only want to call him out on two.
You can call me out on all of them online.
Most famously, to me, and maybe on the podcast, referenced this infinity story. I think that actually this may have been 2013, so maybe this is the wrong part for it. But Brock was like, "Oh God, it's just going to be the white event. They keep referring to this white event. Oh God, for Age of Ultron. I don't know if you guys remember, but they referred to, was it Infinity or Age of Ultron? It doesn't matter. They referred to this white thing that was going to be coming up. This white event, the Black Swan in X-Men's Avengers. Oh, this white event is going to be coming up, and Brock would not shut the F up about how this is going to be the white event like DC had, and it's going to erase Marvel continuity, and he just wouldn't stop talking about it. Anyway, fast forward 12 months, and the white event has not happened, and that was a bunch of hate from Brock to Marvel that actually was worth a pile of dog shit, because it never happened. So thanks for more of your dog shit, Brock, to Marvel.
Bryce, it hasn't happened yet because, we have to get Scarlet Witch and Rogue back, so that's when it happens.
Well, the hate will never stop with you, Brock. But anyway, that was.
Are you going to deny that was a possibility?
Hold on. That was my favorite. That was my favorite Brock gaffe from this last year. My second favorite, which isn't as much egg on his face, was when All New X-Men started, and I'll get to this when we talk about this year's books. Brock also famously said, this book is just going to end when they've already let the cat out of the bag. They're just going to send them back in time, and this book is going to be moot. Yeah, that may or may not be the case, but in fact, this book is actually one of the best that Marvel's coming out with. In spite of the fact that people didn't think that Bendis would do a good job on X-Men, he's doing a very good job on X-Men. And your whole, they've already let the ending of this book out of the bag with the first issue by having them be time travelers. Yeah, it's actually a good book. Okay. So you can just put your hate back in your pants.
Hold on.
And
I have one question.
Hold on, I'm not done. So, in any capacity, your hate notwithstanding, that's a great book. Those are my 2 Brock hates of the year that I could come up with the top of my head.
That's it?
There's actually a lot, but those are the 2 most egregious.
Okay.
And until we get to the next segment, that concludes Bryce Larsen's year prior to 2013 in review. Thank you very much.
So my question is actually not for you, Bryce. So how are those sales on All New X-Men now?
Why don't you just respond to
pretty
it?
damn good.
Pretty damn good, but you're having to cut your numbers, right?
Like everything, I cut my numbers, but yeah,
you're losing.
You're losing this hate, Brock.
I'll go after you.
It's
so
like their best selling book.
It makes sense that you follow that. So go ahead.
I just don't enjoy the book.
I know, but you were talking so much shit like,
How about your year in review? And you can also choose to review.
Omar. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. No, Brock. Yeah. Then Omar will pick up next.
Okay. So ongoing books for this year. All-Star Western is up there for an ongoing book. I mean, that's still consistently solid. I was scared for a while that they brought Booster Gold in and was going to pull Hex into the future, but it's working out amazingly. So, a couple other ones, excuse me, on the list would be, I've been really happy with Suicide Squad, even though it's, I think with the Villains Month and 0 Year and Forever Evil, it's lost kind of its
caught up in that DC crossover.
Yeah, it's caught in that DC crossover where it's like, oh great, I don't know where this book's going to fall. I mean, I've enjoyed what's been going on with it, with Amanda Waller and James Gordon and Deadshot and all these characters kind of coming together. But I think it's suffering from crossover syndrome. Let's see, a couple of honorable mentions. Despite the fact that it's going to be canceled by Lemire, Animal Man has been fantastic, as well as Swamp Thing. Those have been great ongoings.
Sounds like last year's.
Gotta remember
that
to turn
sucks.
on the mic.
That sucks.
Try it again, Omar.
Sounds like last year's year in review.
There's consistently still good books. I will, Bryce. I mean, you didn't really give too much of a shout out, but Daredevil has been amazing, and it's
You read Marvel books?
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you mean I didn't give a shout out? I gave a shout out.
No, you kind of cut it down. But
because I thought that it was an unsung hero, and Ron was like,
it's an amazing book.
It's a totally sung hero, and I'm like, I haven't heard any songs, and he's like, there's lots of songs.
I haven't heard any songs. There's so many. It's a whole playlist.
But Daredevil's been really fun. Thor's been amazing. Jason Aaron is killing it on Thor.
Great point. I forgot. Yeah,
those 2 are the go-tos I have for Marvel. Everything else is, I'll give it a try, but it hasn't caught me yet. So with independent. Again, Saga. It's a great ongoing series. Peter Panzerfast has been a great ongoing series.
But that was this year, wasn't it?
No, it's ongoing.
Rewind. I want to add that
too. Let's see, some of the other ongoings. Yeah, because Walking Dead's still been good ongoing. I haven't.
You have to talk Valiant. That's your favorite.
Well, yeah, I was going to wait, but because it's the whole line. But Valiant, all of their books have been amazing. Exo Man of War, Archer and Armstrong, Harbinger, Shadow Man has been amazing. There's a couple new ones this year that I'll talk about later. But despite the Harbinger War crossover being kind of choppy and repetitive, it was still solid and I enjoyed it. But yeah, there's a lot of books. Like Charlie said, we don't necessarily have time to give shout outs to. So that's my condensed list. I figured I'd go shorter than Bryce on mine.
You don't want to.
That's not hard to go shorter than Bryce.
I know.
Yeah. Shame on you. You don't want to say anything about rebuttal against anything that Bryce said about your.
About my totally accurate callouts?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any rebuke necessary.
He's an X-Men whore.
Okay.
Get us, Omar.
How you can't.
All right.
Let's do it, Omar.
So we're talking about 2013 now. Hey, what's up?
No.
What's up?
Well, books in the year 2013 that you enjoyed that were previously ongoing.
2012, 2013. What's up?
So
one year later.
What I'm saying
Hello.
is not books that started in 2013.
Right.
Books that had continued the length of 2013.
1 year later. Manhattan Projects. Fucking awesome. I love going through and dropping historical references, kind of like how Bryan Singer's so geniusly pulled the whole Kennedy being killed by Magneto. That was sick. And I love how in Manhattan Projects, Hickman like pulls out fucking all these geniuses in time that are all just fucked up and corrupt and like evil. It's great. It's just like talking about just politicking, Hickman. I love that. I love that about you, buddy. Ongoing books, Detective Comics. I mean, when Layman and Fabok took over the book, it's only gotten better. It's been my favorite Batman book, like hands down of all of them. Since Snyder stopped doing Detective. Tony Daniel was doing it. Yeah, I forgot. I was forgettable. So, Daniel's good and all, and I'm glad he got his writing, chops under his belt. But he's an artist, and that's what he is. So, or a plotter. He's a good plotter too. Yeah, Batman's all right. Yeah, I like the Aquaman story. That was kind of cool. Justice League. The one I want to spend the most time on, though, like last year, I spent a lot of time on Catwoman. This year, it's all about Wonder Woman. Like, I felt like Cliff Chiang, once he stops and just does covers, like the book would not have the same illustrative feel in the same way that once Williams spent more time just writing and not really plotting and doing illustration. And I think this is when McCarthy took over for Batwoman, like mid-year. A lot of it dropped off. But with Goran Suzuki, I'm probably saying his name wrong. That guy is hella dope. More so than ever, though, I think Azzarello, he just needs to get all the props for Wonder Woman being this incredible story. I think in the same vein that J. Michael Straczynski wrote Thor, and having a story told about some like archetypical, mythical kind of like, a lot of people say like you can't tell a modern story about those kind of like mythological characters. The way that Azzarello made Wonder Woman become an old god and not just this Amazon, and then connecting it to the new gods and having this old god, new god play being done in the modern era, fucking genius. Azzarello is better than I ever imagined. He's one of my favorite writers right now, and I go back and I read all of his stuff because of it. A lot of things that I've just had in the bins that I never really read, and he's so damn good. Mad props to him. On the Marvel side of things, obviously Daredevil. The thing with Marvel is they have Mark Waid, and Mark Waid is again one of those just writers that's just so impeccable. Everything that he touches is golden, kind of like Peter David. And Chris Samney, for him to blow up the way he did, where he was just like really an online guy and he does some covers every once in a while, and to get handed this opportunity to work on Daredevil and become like an instant star. And I'm so happy to see guys that are super humble but super talented and get that opportunity. I love it. I'll talk about Indestructible later because that's a new title. I want to talk about Uncanny Avengers, but I think that's considered a new title too.
No. That was last year.
I think Hulk started last year too.
No, not Hulk. I want to talk about Hulk too. That's this year.
Yeah, Hulk is this year.
Uncanny Avengers is last year.
Hulk marched with Avengers.
Yeah.
No.
They're just behind.
Really? Okay.
They got way behind.
So Uncanny Avengers, Remender for me is just like the second coming. Dude,
Amen.
He's just killing it on everything he touches. I was a huge fan of Uncanny X-Force, and then him making his world a little bigger and then bringing in some Avengers to the storyline.
Secret Avengers.
Oh, yeah, he did Secret Avengers 2 for a little bit, which I loved. I loved that little Venom run. That was sick. But Uncanny Avengers is phenomenal. Making a character like Havoc, who no one gives a shit about, making him cool, making him kind of like this kind of quiet emo guy, which is a very popular type of character. Kind of like the reason why people don't like Amazing Spider-Man, because he's kind of like Ryan Higgins.
What?
The movie, people, not the comic.
yeah, not the comic. Yeah. So just this like guy wants to keep to himself and but he really wants to have a lot of attention.
Just wants to hit on Marvel.
So he's going to make all of these podcasts that he does. Anyways, Uncanny Avengers is so good. If you're a big fan of Avengers, big fan of X-Men, guess what? You got Uncanny Avengers. And all in one book in 24 pages of goodness with some ads included. And I love it. This has been a fantastic year of books. I really have liked Forever Evil, but I think I'll talk about that a little bit more. Oh, how can I not say the ending of Green Lantern? I know that Ryan's going to jump on this shit, like like a hoe does to like balls in her face. But, Green Lantern, Jeff Johns, the way he ended that horrible storyline. Was it War of Light?
Lights Out.
Lights Out.
What? No, Lights Out
War
was
of Light. War of Light. Yeah, the Lights Out one is Vendetti, or whoever the fuck his name is. He'll be gone soon. Don't worry. And I'm sure it's going to be another book written by Soul. But the fact that Johns went out with Green Lantern and went out big, like having like this like huge ass graphic novel in this book that I spent like $5 on, or maybe it was $7. I don't know. I don't know these
Try
days.
8.
Yeah, there you go. It was 8. Okay, Ryan knows.
Worth every penny.
Yeah, it was phenomenals. It was just like #amaze. Reading that and just like going through pretty much like his whole like career, 10 years of writing Green Lantern. I mean, there's no way that you can avoid reading that one book. It's number 20.
Yeah, just 20.
20. Number 20. Introducing us to the world of the Taliban lanterns. That's kind of cool too. I like that. I like having Middle Eastern people up in this shit, because you know what? Brown people do exist, and they don't all have to be Wakandan.
This is going downhill fast.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
Well, I'm entertaining and you're not. I'm so sorry. I'll pass the mic to
Why
to
do I
Ryan
not
now.
feel burned?
Thank you for your list, Omar. I mean, a bunch of the books I want to talk about have already been mentioned, but a few of them definitely deserve a little mention here. In my mind, above X-Men, above Avengers, above everything else, Marvel's had one major success this year, and that has been Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man is fantastic. It is my favorite book this year by Marvel. It is just such a fun and funny book. And it kind of, Bryce is totally right. When this book launched...
Holy shit. Please, everybody, write down the date and time
That's
that you
true.
said that.
When this book launched, it wasn't just me. It was everyone was like, this is the stupidest idea. Spider-Man 700 was bad, okay? Like the whole setup is just no good.
Well, there was like 3 issues, and it didn't... It was just like...
It was a fun story arc, but it just made no sense for an ongoing series. And then here comes Superior Spider-Man, and it starts off maybe not the strongest last year, but as we go on, and that book just gets better and better and better, and is ramped up to just a ridiculous degree. And we're at the point now where they're bringing back like OG Venom, like the symbiote's back. Like forget this Eddie Brock is a whatever.
Anti-Venom?
Yeah, not even that. No, Eddie Brock's
Anti-Brock.
Eddie Brock's had the whole Venom suit, and
This
he's
is what
like
happens when there's Eddie Brock commercials or conversations around me.
Anti-Brock.
The anti-Brock, and that's like the anti-Monitor. Just it'd
The
be a
Marvel
big
Universe
fight,
needs more anti-Brock.
and
less.
And so I'm just really excited to see where they're going to take Superior Spider-Man going forward. And who knows how much longer it's going to last? But man, at this point, just keep it going forever. Sorry, Peter. You can sit out for a while. I really like Superior Spider-Man. And we talked about this briefly the last episode. But again, a giant apology to Bryce and Omar. I know. What's going on?
Bryce is like dying over here.
As Uncanny Avengers is a fantastic title. Now, I did talk about this last time, but I will very briefly go on it. There was a couple of rough issues, and I kind of gave up on the book at that point. And they had, you got to read it. I'm like, all right, jump back on. I ran through over the last like 10 issues or so over the weekend, or a couple of weekends ago. And no, it is really good. It's deep in the Apocalypse X-Men stuff that I'm not as familiar with as maybe you guys are, but because I like the X-Men, but I've never been that deep into the X-Men. But it's good, and I do like where they're going with it, and the whole Scarlet Witch Rogue battle was pretty fun, and so yeah, it is a fun title, very fun title.
Ryan, you were right last week, almost as if it were just an hour or two ago,
Yeah,
but you're absolutely correct. Uncanny Avengers has been very good.
Yep. Now, technically, this next pick counts as a pick because this book was going prior. Charlie before the podcast had joked, or was it Brock?
No,
Was it
no.
Brock?
We're keeping it with the new stuff. You can't take it.
That's an ongoing
No,
title.
you can't take
It's
it.
Green Arrow.
No. Oh,
His Green Arrow has been fantastic
No, you
this
can
year.
talk about it. It started prior to 2013.
That's you know,
Talking about Andrea.
yeah, well, yeah, Andrea Sorrentino and Jeff Lemire. You could talk about it in your new pick if you
Okay,
want to,
fine.
because it really is a new book.
It really is a new book.
But I'll put it in this. Green Arrow is fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, I think based on the success of Arrow, they realized, hey, we really need to do something to change the Green Arrow around, and they did. And it's really great, dark and gritty, and just so good. Green Arrow, so good. And yes, Omar's absolutely right. From one of the best books, if not the best book at DC, to one of, if not the worst book at DC. Although I don't know, there's some pretty bad books at DC right now. But Green Lantern, that Jeff Johns arc, that 20, man, everything brings a tear to my eye every time I think about it. That is a goddamn good book.
Just one tier?
One manly tear. That's all I need. That's all Hal would give. So, they brought, here's some timey-wimey spoiler stuff. So they brought Sinestro back a little bit quicker than we thought. But, this, I'm just sad to see him go for a little bit, and I'm sure we'll see where he's going now. But, Green Lantern, I miss you, buddy. I miss you guys. Come back soon. Get Jeff Johns back on of like issue 30 or something, please,
Yeah, it's
for
ridiculous.
the love of God.
It's ridiculously shitty.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
But that lead up to 20 and 20 was just so good. It was just so fantastic.
Well, his whole I don't know era.
Oh yeah,
was
absolutely,
just,
absolutely.
I mean, it's just so incredible.
yeah.
And he like Tomasi with Green Lantern Corps prior to the shitty 52 was so that's not fair. It wasn't that bad.
Well, Tomasi, speaking of another shout out, I know one of Omar's favorites. I'm not 100% caught up, so I haven't read the last handful of issues, but Batman and Robin continues to be one of the best Batman titles on the shelf. I mean, between Batman and Robin, Detective, and Batman, it's like Batman is just destroying everyone else. They have some of the consistently the best titles. All three of those books are great, but Batman and Robin to me just is such a fun book. Even post Death of Damian, Batman and Robin's been great. Indie wise, my indie reading this year has been at one of, if not an all time low. And there's so many great books out these days, but I need to catch up on some. I'm way behind on Saga. I'm way behind on Walking Dead. Peter Panzerfaust early pick of mine. I really like that. I continue to like that a whole lot. Five Ghosts is new this last year. Yeah, that's new this last year. Trying to think what else. There's a couple others, but they're all new this last year. So that's just the way it is with the indie book. So Buffy finished up this past year. Buffy was good. It had a good ending. Not really indie, but
franchise.
Yeah. The Buffy book was really good. That was by Dark Horse. So finished up the Buffy the Vampire Slayer stuff. Most of my indie stuff is new this year. So why don't we just move on to that?
Okay.
Brock, why don't you start us off?
New this year.
And Green, you can count Green Arrow again.
Yeah,
Sure.
Green Arrow 16. Man, that issue number 1 was amazing.
17?
No, was it 16 or 17? I thought it was 16.
Maybe it's 16.
We know what you mean.
But that issue 1 was amazing, and it's been kick ass ever since. I haven't read Harley 1, but based on Harley 0, I'm hopeful. It was a really fun book. So, but a lot of stuff that's new this year that I really enjoyed was independent. Like Vertigo had Hinterkind start this year, which I've been really, really enjoying. The Wake by Scott Snyder and why am I blanking on his name? Artwork.
Sean Murphy.
Has been really, really great. I'm not going to take it because you'll take it, so I'll let you have that one. No, I'm not going to take it. No. I can't do that to you.
You talking about Sandman?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to take it. That's yours. Manifest Destiny came out a couple months ago, number 1. Really, I like that. It's 2 issues in. Really entertaining. Kind of interesting take on Lois and Clark's journey across the United States, but they're encountering mystical creatures.
Lois and Clark?
Lois and Clark, sorry.
Lois and Clark?
Lewis
and Clark?
Lewis and Clark.
Okay.
I don't know.
Even I was like,
Sorry,
what?
it's yeah.
Is this a Vertigo?
Yeah. What else came out this year? This is the tough part because you blank on everything right when you're about to say it. East of West has been really, really good. I've been really enjoying it. it had a couple issues where I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And then
What is East and West about? What is East and West about for readers that don't really touch indie books?
It's in my review. I'll get to it.
Yeah, I'll let Bryce do it because I know it's on Bryce's list too. What else came out? Wild Blue Yonder, that we've talked about before. Slow in releasing, but it's been a really, really good series. Only 3 issues out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you think I'm forgetting anything? Yeah, no, not much else.
Omar, hit us up with a list.
Hi.
What new books just started this year? 2013.
Gosh,
Number one.
I don't feel like I picked up a lot of new books because a lot of them were like new number ones or whatever. But the books that like stand out to me, like I can't wait to grab them and pick them up. Like definitely Forever Evil. It's been awesome. All the side books are kind of shitty, but including JLA. But Forever Evil has been awesome. I really enjoy having the Crime Syndicate of America come in and just show like how fucking beastly the Justice League really could be. No different from like if you're for those Justice League Unlimited fans out there watching. What were they called before? The Justice League of Not Tomorrow, or what were they?
What's this?
For Justice League Unlimited. This is kind of like it's no different from the Crime Syndicate of America, but like the evil Justice League. They're called.
You talking about the animated movie?
Yes, the animated series.
Justice League.
Justice
Lords?
Yes, Justice Lords. Yeah, I mean, it's just like having that kind of feel.
That's a great episode.
In the pages of the books, and like, them getting away with a lot of crazy shit. Like, there was one shot in particular that Charlie pulled aside for me and said, "Dude, you got to read this one book," and it was about, I think it was Secret Society. And I was like, they got away with so much shit in that. And now it's like, wait a minute, who's this written by? It was written by Johns. I got to see Johns get down, dirty and gritty. Kind of like when he was able to do that when he wasn't a big name. Like, it felt a lot to me like the way he wrote that Secret Society book was very similar to how he wrote that one shot where they killed Ted Cord. What was that?
Countdown Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, Countdown.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, Countdown Infinite Crisis. So that was incredible, and they were treating pretty much Nightwing in the same way that they did with Ted Cord. But we'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to die. But if it's up to Didio, we'll see different things happening. For me, a new book is Deadpool, because this is a book that I really never was interested in, and a character I thought was cool, and I read him back in the 90s. But Pacine and Duggan just really brings the fun back into comics, and what better medium and character to facilitate that than Deadpool, the original guy that broke the fourth wall. So much fun. In particular, there's 2 issues, I think it's 12 and 13, where he does like a play of a Deadpool joining the Heroes for Hire with in the 70s. Incredible. And they fought this one dude. He was like a pimp, and he pretty much like Colonel Sanders. He was like the Mr. White or something. It was just too much fucking tongue-in-cheek fun and wordplay. Incredible comedy. And I think, isn't that guy Pussy? I looked into him a little more. Like he's a comedian, right?
Yeah,
he's a stand-up comedian. Yeah, fucking awesome that a stand-up comic actually getting into comics and doing books.
You totally know who he is, too. You've seen him in 100 things. He's so unique looking. Yeah, you know who he is.
Okay. Well, anyways, love that book. That book goes up above most books, especially above Green Lantern these days. But so much fun. It's not really a new book, but whatever. It happened. It did happen this year. And I think that it was really underserved in the marketing because it wasn't really treated like a big event book. Age of Ultron, you have to read that. That's an incredible series. It's kind of like, it's in the same way like Infinite Crisis, I think. Infinite Crisis was underserved. A lot of people didn't really, pick it up. But
Infinite Crisis was like the #1 book that year when it came
was
out.
It?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why, just because the Jim Lee covers?
And Age of Ultron's like the #1 book of last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't tell us story.
Or right up there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the fact that they talk about time traveling, and again, in the same indicative of what Mr. Bryce to my left was saying, so right on about having plotting done like 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance, whatever, dropping seeds, and then you get shit happening like in front of your face, and you're like, damn, I saw that coming. I saw that trail. I saw that one panel where the guy looked to the left and just like Ryan Higgins said, one tear dropped to your eye. Like, it was just like
Manly tear.
Yeah, manly tear. Very manly, of course, a manly tear. But just the fact that you have like this lead up to something so great. And now we
got 2 years of that.
Everyone's reading Wolverine now, and people are like, oh, they don't realize it's the Wolverine from the future. Spoiler alert. Yeah, Wolverine's fucking our whole time continuing up because it's the Wolverine from the future fucking shit up. Get it? It's been told by you from me, Omar B. What you want?
Bryce, I think give us a list here. Hit us some with some books. We gotta not forever here, but
Well, you came to the wrong guy, Ryan.
This is our Marvel Forever Evil.
Forever talking.
Forever Marvel.
when you turn 90 degrees to your left, Bryce, and talk to the microphone.
I'll try
Thank
to
you.
not go too crazy, and to appease some of our listeners, I will start with the non-Marvel books. Look, I did not read a lot of DC this year, other than Green Lantern. I didn't read any DC. The Green Lantern stuff was great to finish out the Johns run. I ended at Johns. Some would say mercifully, just because I've heard that it did not get any better afterwards. So anyway, if you're a DC fan and you're listening to me, go read the Green Lantern up through the Johns run and nothing beyond that. After that, I just want to give some shout-outs to some Image books before I get on to Marvel, because I have, shockingly, plenty of Marvel to talk about. I want to talk about Five Ghosts. Five Ghosts has been great. Five Ghosts started off as a Kickstarter project of this guy that has 5... legendary character personas available to him, including Sherlock Holmes, Musashi Miyamoto, Dracula, and 2 other gentlemen that I'm sure are very obvious that I'm just not remembering because I'm trying to rush through this. But it was a very good book that started off as only a 5-issue mini that was so successful that it got picked up by for an ongoing, if I'm not mistaken, and has been very good. So I recommend reading that. Totally worth picking up every issue. East of West, if you're looking for so I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic stuff. I am the only person, I think, in California that liked the movie Waterworld.
I liked it too, bro.
My point is that I'm a big sucker for post-apocalyptic stuff. So this had my name all over anyway. The fact that it's done by Hickman, written by Hickman, just, is another feather in its cap towards me. And then you get the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I mean, as a Marvel and Apocalypse fan, even though they're not related at all, don't get me wrong, that already was going to sort of get my attention. There's just a number of things to get my attention. The art is incredible. What's troublesome for me is that I feel like it's taking forever to get anywhere. So those of you that read it will probably, I would like to think, agree with me, that it's kind of like, okay, you guys are going to, save America, and you're the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and the other 3 of them are trying to kill one of the other ones. I won't go too much into it. I'm averse to spoilers, but it's a very good book. I highly recommend reading it. Hickman has not done any wrong, including in East of West.
Can I say really quick to jump into your, to your...
Please.
This is your world right now, but you brought up Waterworld, and I the scene that came into my mind is the scene where June Triplehorn, who's kind of like she has this different kind of beauty. She's not like a natural beauty, but she's kind of cross-eyed. But when they took off her top and she has big old titties, I was like, damn, I thought about that scene.
Incredible.
Yeah.
How about the opening scene of the movie where he pees into a little machine and then drinks it?
Yeah, that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, incredible.
I think that's why the movie was doomed at the start.
It was incredible to me that they opened the movie like that. It was like, really?
Yeah.
The people backing your movie didn't have a red flag when you opened your movie.
You didn't think maybe they will just put this in the extended edition, not in this edition?
Exactly. That was hashtag pre-DVDs. Okay, so moving right along. Velvet. Want to give a special shout out. This is why I wish Charlie was here. Velvet. Only one issues. What? Yeah,
you forget
okay,
I love.
But you don't have as much of a heart on it as Charlie has about
I
it.
love Velvet. Okay. I loved the Cap stuff with Ricker.
Thank you. Moving along. Velvet was incredible. Charlie would also agree with Brock that Velvet was very good.
Yeah.
Only one issue, but I believe that
2.
There's been 2?
Yeah.
I've only read 1. Issue 1 was amazing. But that's a new book that has come out that I highly recommend people picking up. Basically, it's, James Bond is always notorious for effing Moneypenny. This is the story about Moneypenny. And by the way, she's a badass double secret agent. Go learn about her story in Velvet, done by Brubaker and some other gentleman that does a great job.
Steve Epting.
Yes.
Finally.
Yeah, that group that was on Captain America.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Not the characters, but the creators.
Steve Epting is the artist.
Got it. I thought you meant the characters, and I was like, no, it's Image.
No.
Anyway, okay, moving right along to Marvel books. That's all my Image love that I have.
Oh my god!
So this is where you can cut it
Look,
off.
first of all, I want to talk about
Skip
Age of
ahead
Ultron.
30
Age of
minutes.
Ultron, I'll keep it pretty quick. Age of Ultron
Yes.
was really good. The
So
ending
good.
was totally subpar, in my opinion. It ended up as being an advertisement for a bunch of books, and I was like, what WTF? Like, what did they do to the ending? But really, the story was really good. And by the way, for those people, aka Ryan Higgins and Brock, that say that Marvel arcs, especially written by Bendis, don't end up doing anything. First of all, I'll point you to the Infinity Gauntlet as not really doing anything. Second of all, I would like to point out that Age of Ultron did lead to the ultimate deprecation of the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah,
Thank God.
Later.
So I also, moving along from that, I just want to say that was great. Go read Age of Ultron. Next in line, Superior Foes of Spider-Man. The unsung hero of the Spider-Man universe.
Is this Ryan talking or
Superior
Bryce?
Spider-Man was great.
Wow.
Superior
Bryce knows what's up.
Superior Foes was fucking great. I've been on Superior Foes since number 1. It was a very good book. If any of you guys, so Nick Spencer, if any of you guys
he's awesome. I like Nick
cheeky
Spencer.
motherfuckers, go read Superior Foes. It's fantastic. So I've not kept up with Superior Spider-Man, although when I was doing some what happened in 2013 on the internet, everybody's talking about Superior Spider-Man, this came out of nowhere. Superior Foes was mentioned on only a handful. Great story by Nick Spencer about the D-list villains of Spider-Man, the Rogues Gallery, the Sinister Six, even though there's only 5 of them.
It's actually the Deadly Foes of Spider-Man.
It's a Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
It's Superior Foes.
I know, but it's the Deadly Foes.
Good try.
Those are the guys in the Deadly Foes mini from a long time
Some
ago.
of them.
Are you fucking interrupting my thing to incorrectly correct me?
No, it's
Hey,
from...
Herbie's slipping you off right now, bro.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, that's a great book.
File some books in your
All
lives.
New X-Men, as I mentioned before, Brock was hating on it, and Brock will still hate on it. But look, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, Avengers, oh, Bendis, oh, blah, 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 oh, X-Men, oh, it's going to be equally shitty. By the way, he came in and he did a great job. He said, okay, look, let's mix up this X-Men situation. Let's bring in the original X-Men, which was a great idea, as it turns out. Excuse me. And a lot of people were like, how long could this possibly last? By the way, it's still going on, and it's made for some great stories. Battle of the Atom was a great story arc. A lot of people didn't like, a.k.a. Ryan Higgins and Brock, didn't like how it ended because it quote-unquote didn't change anything, even though I could argue about that as well. But look, it like having the extra dynamic of the original X-Men in the mix adds for so much more storytelling. His whole thing about Uncanny X-Men, I love Chris Picciello. I think that I'm in the minority in this room, but look, he's done a great job with Bendis in terms of Uncanny of X-Men. Let's go ahead and talk about what the Cyclops team is doing, aka the quote-unquote villain team, even though they're not really villainous at all, which is stupid, but this team, this side of things, what's going on with them? Ryan Higgins at one point in time earlier this year said, oh, this guy is the biggest Speedball ripoff ever. Couldn't be more wrong.
Gold Ball.
Gold Balls comes out of the shadows to be like the greatest sleeper hit of the X-Men ever.
No, he's still terrible.
Unlike Ryan Higgins, he's laughing at his own joke, and everybody's, fucking hashtag Gold Balls. Ryan was talking about, oh yeah, God, this guy's like such a ripoff of Speedball. Anyway, so he's in on his own joke. Uncanny X-Men has been great. All New X-Men has been even greater. Bendis has been doing a very good job with the X-Men, even in spite of people saying that, oh, there's no way that he could do as good a job on this. Okay, I'm going way too long. I'm sorry. So I'll try to quickly do it. Sorry.
I just want to jump in because I didn't say one thing, and you're talking about a lot of X-Men stuff.
Yeah.
Brian Wood, who likes to,
I'm not even done.
He really quick. Yeah, Brian Wood. He likes to talk. He likes to. I guess supposedly he's like a predator against women in comics.
Oh god!
But he really knows how to write comic books, and like his
Fucking
new
Brian Wood
X-Men is
X-Men?
fucking incredible,
It is
right?
so good.
It's like it's straight up just all girl power X-Men. It's like I feel like I'm in Korea.
But it's not-
Everything's a girl band.
But it's not even girl power. So so Brian Wood X-Men, yes, and Cable and X-Force were the last two X books I want to talk about. So the Brian Wood X-Men, which was actually only X-Women, he did a great job. When it came out, everybody was trolling him about, it's only girls. How could this possibly survive? Such a good book. Great art, great writing. Look, it doesn't matter. It's just such proof that you don't need to have girls or guys. It doesn't matter the gender. You just need to have strong characters. And he writes such strong characters. He did a great job. He fit his piece into the Battle of the Atom stuff very well. Their story arc with Jubilee's Child, which I actually personally didn't like because I was like, that was kind of whack, but for the most part, it's all very good.
It's future Iron Man.
That's true. Yes,
Right?
I forget his name. The Japanese
Shogi
name.
or
yeah, that's
fucking
right.
whatever
it was. Yes, it was good. And then Cable and X-Force was the other piece that I wanted to talk about. The only of the two X-Force books that are out there that are actually X-Forcing doesn't. In fact, as far as I understand, is that not also Spencer? That is not. That is Hopeless. My bad. So he does a great job on that. I don't want to sing that one's praises too much because it's only good. I wouldn't say that it's great, but it is solid. I think Cable and the X-Force have taken their cast of characters and been doing good stuff with them. Almost done here. Indestructible Hulk, very good. Guardians of the Galaxy, people thought that would... Well, I don't know if people thought that would be shitty. I could be wrong about that. But I think that it's been very good. Last two things I want to talk about.
Weren't you supposed to wrap up like 4 last things ago?
No. This is the last time I'm going to say last things.
Oh, okay.
New Avengers and Hawkeye. Hawkeye...
We almost got through the podcast without having Hawkeye.
Great.
Son of a...
Great story. Look, Hawkeye has been fantastic. Matt Fraction has been doing a lot of books. Matt Fraction doesn't get... I think that he probably gets more credit than you two would probably... I'm putting to Ryan and Brock, would like him to get.
Who else would you point to?
So I think that it's worth noting that he actually has done a great job with Hawkeye, because nobody's saying, oh, what a great job he did in Iron Man a couple years ago, and nobody's saying what a great job he's doing in FF or Fantastic Four now.
No one is saying that.
Right, nobody's saying that. So I am saying that he's done a great job in Hawkeye, because Hawkeye, the story about what does the superhero do when he's not being a superhero, has been very effective. And is it David or Danny Aja?
David Aja.
Yeah.
David
Yeah,
Aja.
yeah.
Remember when I said Daredevil was like the best reviewed Marvel book? I forgot about Hawkeye. Hawkeye is the best
it
reviewed
is. It's
Marvel
number
book.
one.
And then Daredevil right
It's
behind.
probably the biggest reason why non-comic book readers are into comics on a weekly base or on a monthly basis. because
Well,
of Hawkeye.
you can't say monthly. Hawkeye has slipped way bad on the shipping schedule the last few months. They've only put like 2 issues in
Yeah,
like
that's why
6
I'm not even
months.
sure if it's a
Well, I mean, if
2013
you
book.
measure it in a year, I mean, I think
Right,
it's
right.
Saga and then probably Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then I'm glad I got to it. So Hawkeye has been incredible. I don't even want to say incredible because I don't want to overhype it for anybody that hasn't read it.
No, it's hyped. It's hyped for a good reason.
But it is very good. It's just very low key. They love to make fun of dude bros. It's got great art. It's got very, very solid writing. And then I wanted to talk about New Avengers. If anybody wants to read an ongoing, relatively monthly, almost about the Illuminati, this is your story. It tied into Infinity. I would like to go on the record of saying that Infinity was incredible, but that they should have chapterized it out like they did with Battle of the Atom to make it more easy for all of you people that couldn't follow. What's going on? My name's Brock and Ryan Higgins. I don't understand.
I
what's
can
so
follow
confusing
it.
about this. How many podcasts have we had where you guys were like, "Oh, this is so confusing"? It's
Brock
bullshit.
didn't even
It's
read
bullshit.
Infinity, bro.
Okay, then it was Ryan and someone
I only got
else.
4 issues.
No. For me,
But it was like, look,
I was not
yes, they
confused.
should have-
Hold
they sh-
on. I was not confused by the order. I was confused by the plot earlier. But again, I went back and I sat back and I reread them all, and I enjoyed it by the end.
I've been so blessed with your apologies towards me this podcast. I can't even keep them straight. So you might have come around on
He's going to
Infinity.
fucking edit them out, bro.
I didn't think Infinity was as good as some of the other books, and I still didn't love it, but I read it and understood it and enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed most of the stuff I read.
So I do think that they should have chaptered it out. That was such an obvious thing that they should have done to make it more, readable by everybody. I'm sorry for going on for so long. I was very excited.
But
that's
I like the excitement.
That's my year in review of new Marvel books. I wish there was more DC. I just don't really. I can't wait till the new 52. They go back to the old 52. And Image has had a bunch of good stuff. Or I'm not even sure these are all Image, but the non-big two has had a bunch of good stuff.
Lane. And that's hard to follow up on.
Yeah,
but
they've already covered most of it.
you got any?
Say the big ones were Wake and East to West.
Yeah.
Big, definitely two. I'd go with a couple other extra things. I forgot to mention also one thing I want to say on the continuing series that just ended. I know you guys don't read it, but it's a manga called Vagabond. It's the life story of Miyamoto Musashi.
Nice.
Just ended this year, like a 5-year run.
Awesome.
And the artist is the most amazing guy I've ever seen. Sorry. And I guess for new stuff, I think also just to give shout outs to not just books, but types of books, I want to say. Like, for example, the Adamantium edition of Wolverine was pretty amazing.
Oh, God. Where's Charlie?
Yeah, I was hoping Charlie would talk about that, but he left. Just like I also loved they're gimmicky, but I actually liked the 3D covers from DC.
They were huge.
Especially like a couple of them, like I think the Two-Face one where you can actually see the coin flipping was pretty cool.
Sick.
Yeah,
That's
that was sick.
And then let's see, as far as books go, one of the books, actually I'm not sure if it's this year or not, but the Legends of the Mouse Guard series.
Muscard is always so delayed, but I think most of it was this year. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, the Legends
Close
is a specific series where he only drew the outer pages and other creators did the inner parts.
Right.
And that was kind of an interesting twist on his own stories. And then this is more of a technicality, but I would say Muse, which is a humanoids book, which is actually because it was never printed in the U.S. until this point, which is the two Coraline books by Terry Dodson.
Yeah, beautiful book.
Beautiful artwork.
Yeah,
amazing
absolutely.
artwork. Surprised Omar hasn't read that one.
No, I like Terry Dodson. He draws the best tits in the business.
Yeah, well, you have to read Muse then.
Okay.
It's straight up Emmanuel, basically.
It's a European book. None of this American censoring in that.
Yeah.
But it's amazingly
Love
art.
it.
So, just props to artwork at this point. So I'll stop there for now.
Cool.
Make it short.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, most of the stuff that I was covered. Again, Bryce, Superior Foes of Spider-Man, probably my favorite new Marvel book of this year. Funny as hell. Again, I thought, how long is this going to last? No, I want it to go on forever. It's great. It's
actually really good.
It's Suicide Squad mixed with comedy.
Thunderbolts.
Mixed with Thunderbolts, right? Just goofy versions of bad Marvel, bad Spider-Man villains teamed up in an impossible situation. And again, it's kind of got that Hawkeye feel a little bit where it's very down to earth. They're walking on rooftops and walking around. They're not flying in space. They're not going crazy. It's very conversations around a table. It's a very talky book, but super funny. Nick Spencer, such a funny book. But then Brock mentioned it earlier, which we only got one issue. Unfortunately, 2 didn't ship in time. But Sandman. Sandman. What else can I say about Sandman?
Sandman.
And Bryce is giving me that look.
That's my overrated look. Like, look, it was good. The art was really good, but what the fuck?
You didn't understand the layers of intricacy that was done and was weaved to the history of the story of Morpheus.
I know Omar is saying that trying to mock me, but he is 100% correct. Everything he just said is literally exact.
I believe it.
The layers that they've added with Morpheus with this, I mean, what they've set up in that one issue alone blows most entire runs of series out of water for me.
Right,
J.H. Williams, art of his career. I
liked it. It was an enjoyable book.
Yeah, I want the rest to come out. I'm so excited.
I can't wait to read the rest, and I cannot wait to read Sandman in general. I'm sure that I will appreciate it much more. Yeah. But for a new story, even having read it, was like,
Yeah, it doesn't give you. I think if you're new to it, I think it's a tough read.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Charles Sewell's going to pick it up, and then Joe Matt is going to do the new art for it.
Yeah.
Even I got that last joke.
and then it'll be
issue next year.
Yeah, then it'll be delayed to April. So,
2016.
Yeah. Well, why don't we stop talking about all this new good books, and why don't we talk about a great old book?
Oh, this is your pick of the month, huh?
My pick of the month.
Whoa, we've already went around the table on the pick of the month?
Yeah.
Woo! Man, time flies when you're having
pick
fun.
Was a 6-issue miniseries. 6 issues from Marvel
with a ton of tie-ins.
This is from Marvel. No. Infinity Gauntlet did not have that many tie-ins.
It was Infinity War.
Oh, it was Infinity War.
All the
Okay.
yeah. Come on, bro.
This was, if I'm not
There's
mistaken,
a lot of Infinities out there.
If I'm not mistaken, originally published in 1991 by the creative teams of Ron Lim, who does some of the art, and he kind of fills in. George Perez does a majority of the art in that first half, and written by the incomparable Jim Starlin. This is the Infinity Gauntlet 6-issue miniseries. Again, I had recommended that if you want a little extra credit homework, you should also read the Rebirth of Thanos trade paperback, which is also Jim Starlin and Ron Lim through most of it. That kind of resets up Thanos' rebirth into the Marvel Universe. This is... When people think big mega crossovers, I think the origin of it for most people is... for DC, it is Crisis on Infinite Earths. And for Marvel, more than Secret Wars, I think it's Infinity Gauntlet. I think Infinity Gauntlet was the big major epic that I think really people remember as being kind of the first big Marvel crossover. Now, I mean, there were others. There's champions. There were Contest of Champions. There was Secret Wars, and Secret Wars was huge. But I think Infinity Gauntlet was the one that was. I really felt like it was part of the universe. It really affected a bunch of stuff. They brought back big villains. There was a lot more going on in this than I think Secret War or some of the others. And I actually had wanted to reread it for a while, especially with Thanos being such a big part of the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I figured this would be a good time to read it. And, it doesn't suffer from what I think a lot of Marvel 90s stuff suffers from. That's kind of like goofy continuity. I think this book stands on its own pretty well. I know, Bryce... We were talking before recording that you weren't aware of what happened in Rebirth of Thanos, so a lot of this stuff came back, and you were like, "Oh shit, I didn't realize just how much had happened before." So there is that element of it where I think you should read the previous stuff, but again, you don't have to. There's kind of like a recap page at the beginning, really early on, that's like, "Hey, here's all the shit that just happened, and now Thanos is going to go off, and here come the Avengers and all the big bads to fight him, or all the good guys to go fight the big bad." So. What does everyone think of this? We'll do a couple minutes each. Brock, you wanna?
I'm sorry, Ryan. Is that your review? Do you want to tell us how many Ryans you give it?
To me, it's I think the art stays pretty consistent, even though Ron Lim does take over. I think he does an amazing George Perez impression in that second half of the book. Again, it's a super fun book. Just tons of characters, tons of cameos. My little Nova gets some little action there, which is always good. Great covers. I mean, as far as this type of book goes, I mean, I'll give it 9 out of 10. I mean, this is what the big crossovers should be. We've seen some have worked and some haven't, and this is what they should be. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had actually never gotten around to reading Infinity Gauntlet before this. I had read, I think this past year or the year before, I'd read The Rebirth, and I enjoyed it, but I just hadn't gotten around to reading Infinity Gauntlet. But going in and reading it, I knew George Perez had done some of the art, and Lim had come in to alleviate him for it, and it's a seamless transition in the books from his art, Perez's art to
pretty
Lim.
much.
So
yeah, pretty much.
It's that at least I think was great because you don't have this jarring different artist like we actually saw in that Star Breaker crossover that you
don't even
but no, it was a great book that showed a lot of characters coming together to fight Thanos. Just the power of the Infinity Gauntlet was put on display in the pages. It's definitely a 90s read. It's very dialogue heavy, very, very talky, but it flows very, very well. and it's I would probably give it 8 out of 10 Ryans. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's the early space stuff, which I've always been a big fan of Marvel Space Universe, especially with like Annihilation Conquest. The 2005 Guardians or 2008 Guardians. Sorry,
I think this is really the start to that.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it makes me really want to kind of go back and read those Silver Surfer issues around that time, and despite having a lot of kind of about certain characters, like I want to read the old Quasar. I want to read about these old space characters. So yeah, I mean, really, really good.
I mean, what everybody's saying about the 90s, just reflecting the 90s, it's so true. Like, all of these characters and these storylines that are being, like, so heavily pushed down your throat, like, things that are only going to be good in the 90s, like Namor, She-Hulk, I mean, New Warriors, who reads that? Nova. I mean, it's kind of silly. I mean, West Coast Avengers. This is... For me, when I think of the point that Ryan made about Secret Wars being like considered one of the greatest like event books ever, sure it was the start of it. It definitely gets its shine. But like this is kind of Infinity Gauntlet for me is kind of like in the same way that DC did. Was Crisis on Infinite Earths? It's just that one book that you can read that and then it gets you so interested in all these other characters and you want to read more into other things, though for sure it was definitely more spacey. I mean, you have Hulk and you have Wolverine and you have Spider-Man in panels, but they really don't. They're just there just to be there. It's all about Warlock. It's all about Silver Surfer. Mephisto stole the show. Mephisto was just the man. He was like the Daryl of the group, he just whispering in fucking Thanos' ear, and Thanos is like being a little bitch, like, oh shit, I want to get at Death. I want to get inside Death's poo-tangs. And it's just like,
She has multiple poo-tangs?
Yeah, well, I mean, she's Death, her shit's on fire. Doctor Strange, like, showing him like how big he is because he's a very powerful character. And the way, like, Adam Warlock kind of just weaves and flows, he's like a great character. You don't know if he's good or bad throughout the whole thing. Because in the end, this book is about the Infinity Gauntlet, this power that no one holds. But in the end, this one dude, Goldilocks, they call him throughout the book, is the one that actually gains it. So you don't know if it's who's good and who's bad. The celestial battle is incredible when they're like two of them were throwing planets at fucking Thanos, and then Bryce and I were talking about that beforehand, and it's like, oh shit, we don't know if they're even like if these planets are even like inhabited, and it's like it doesn't matter, it's all over, it's a battle, dude. Like he's throwing hella like planets, like galaxies at Thanos. It's like you never see these kind of like epic, huge battle. This book is fucking what it's all about when it comes to like seeing the powers of like the Marvel universe and seeing like the scale of who is where. Like Wolverine and Hulk, yeah, they have their cool little bromance scene.
Real quick, Omar, this book reminds me so often of when people are like, oh, the Marvel's like down to earth comic book stuff, and then you read Infinity Gauntlet and you're like, this makes anything DC does look kind of tame in comparison. Totally. I mean, even stuff like Crisis on Infinite Earths. Oh, it was I would say a similar level, but this gets ridiculous with what happens in this title. So for all those people that like Daredevil swinging around and Spider-Man doing his thing, it's like you have to realize there is this whole other part of the Marvel universe that is as cosmic as you can get.
Sure.
Okay, I 50% disagree with that, but we'll finish what Omar has to say.
The bromance scene with Wolverine and Hulk, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, we're evil, and we don't know. We just do what we need to do." And then Adam Warlock coming in. Oh yeah, speaking of which, being eagle, like Adam Warlock is like dancing around the issue. Oh yeah, you might have to kill somebody. Is that cool? Yeah. And they're like all playing that shit. The Watcher just being the Watcher, just fucking being a total perv. He's my favorite character in the whole Marvel universe, by the way. I mean, everything was on point. The art, the writing group. Sometimes you get like these stories that, in this case in particular, case in point, it goes from George Perez, one of the most legendary, most incredible artists, most influential artists in the last 30 years, going to Ron Lim, who also is fucking incredible, and he just like stereotypes the 90s, the most incredible artwork that was out in the 90s. You don't really like lose a beat. I love it. And the covers are just so epic. You look at every single book, and these are covers that actually they do reflect what's inside. I that's one of my biggest peeves. I hate when I fucking pick up a comic book off the shelf and I look at the cover and then look inside and it's a total disconnect. It's just like, okay, EVS, you've been commissioned to write this, do this cool ass art to make people buy the book, and it has nothing connected to it. It fucking sucks. I hate that shit. 10 out of 10. Easy.
Woo! How do I follow up such a poignant and accurate review? I need to.
Oh no, please.
So yeah, I'm just gonna get this out of the way since I talked too much. 10 out of 10 from me. 10 Ryans out of 10. Look,
Fantastic.
I agree and I don't agree with Ryan. I mean, so yeah, Marvel is much more street level, quote unquote, than DC, and that's always been their sort of stigma. So yes, that is sort of their stigma, which is their, I guess, benefit and their downfall. I think that there is so much more space stuff going on, and like Brock mentioned, the space stuff is so intriguing, and that's what I also loved about this story was all of the space stuff. But you know, conversely to what it's not like, oh, there's all the space stuff that's, you know, relevant to the Marvel universe. It's like, actually, they spent the first however many issues getting all the heroes to go there, and then they got punked in one issue by Thanos, and it was sort of, you know, not really an issue anymore because all of Earth's Marvel heroes had, you know, nothing, you know, that they could do. And by the way, even the galactic ones could do nothing against the Infinity Gauntlet. So, yes and no. Look, I loved it. I think if you want any book that depicts the night, so yes, Secret Wars 2, perfectly encapsulating their sort of time that they were out and they were popular. Infinity Gauntlet does the exact same. Great 90s writing, great 90s art. I mean, I think that it was 91, right? It was like the definition of the 90s. You know, this also probably has to do with a lot of how old I was when this came out. You know, I mentioned to Ryan, I didn't read The Rebirth of Thanos, but when I was rereading this now, I was like, oh man, I really wish that I read The Rebirth of Thanos, because the whole beginning of it is like, oh yeah, all this stuff happened that you should have known about how, you know, Thanos did all this searching for the Infinity Gems and got the Infinity Gauntlet, and Silver Surfer's been trailing him this whole time. And it's like, oh, that's actually sounds like a pretty cool story. I'm going to go ahead and pick up The Rebirth of Thanos. Subsequent to reading this, unfortunately. But it was a fantastic story, even when you look at it from the perspective of the whole, you know, first couple issues were a waste of time because Thanos punked everybody. It was all up to Loki. I mean, Mephisto
yeah. Nice connection there, bro.
to punk Thanos to get him not only to, you know, weaken his control in the gauntlet, but to get him to get distracted enough so that Nebula could swoop on that. And then, you know, the whole back and forth with Nebula and then back to Thanos, or not back to Thanos, but, you know, then to Adam Warlock, but Thanos wishes he had it. But does he wish he had it because he had the Cosmic Cube at one point in time and gave it up? So, perfect encapsulation of 90s writing from Marvel. Look, Marvel has, you know, hundreds of superheroes, and they all do jack shit to one superpowered being. Look, DC, like, if this had actually been Marvel versus DC Infinity Gauntlet, this would have been like, by the way, Superman kills the whole Marvel universe. That's what this could have been. Which is why Marvel is so much superior to DC, is because, look, everybody is like a street level person. I mean, everybody against Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. By the way, in case anybody's going to post angrily, I'm trolling you guys. But, you know, all of the Marvel heroes are street level in comparison to Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, it's really great when it's just like Cap and Thanos are standing there, and it's like, Cap, what are you going to do?
It's
man?
like so loud.
But he never stops.
90s
right.
ever.
Right.
And by the way, if anybody has the single issues, I would just like to point out issue 2, the cover, was George Perez draws these like nice sculpted buttocks on Captain America, and She-Hulk is right next to him, one of the arguably sexier women of the Marvel universe, you know, depending on whatever the artist, obviously, but she has like this bowling ball butt.
Dude, John Byrne drew her like nobody's business. Like John Byrne, John Byrne made me want to date black women because I was reading She-Hulk. Like, you know what I mean?
Jeez.
This is before Serena or Venus Williams.
Which is the cover? Is it two?
Here, pass this down.
Is it two
She-Hulk
three?
or
Yeah, two's the one with all the people like missing, right? Yeah.
She-Hulk
That's such a great cover.
or Thanos,
Yeah.
depending on who you want to date.
No butt at all.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
But the shadow on Cap is like immensely like
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, it's like butt crack and everything.
Anyway,
All up in that.
you can see Captain America's butt crack on
no,
the
you
cover
know
of
what?
issue 2, and you can see a bowling ball butt on.
No, it's not a bowling ball.
She-Hulk.
She actually shit herself because she's what happened.
That's disgusting, bro.
Anyway,
George Press isn't gay though. He loves women.
Look. This story was great. It was the perfect, I know I've said this, the perfect encapsulation of the 90s. Great 90s art, great 90s writing. They have all of 2 X-Men that really show up in the whole story.
Cyclops takes a shot once.
That's why one of the 2. And then he gets like a little glass box around his head and dies. And then Wolverine turns to rubber, and that's it for the X-Men. In fact, Archangel is, I think, recruited in issue 2, but then like he doesn't even show up, and I think that Marvel Girl is like recruited as well, and she doesn't show up. So there's basically no X-Men. So the fact that I like this is incredible. But it was so good, and I can't wait to read Rebirth of Thanos. Subsequent to this, which will be great.
It's a build up. So Rebirth of Thanos is not nearly on the same level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting in different ways. This is really everything hit the fan here. So,
appropriately, it's like The Hobbit to your Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Okay. Well, anyway, 10 out of 10. Perfect encapsulation of 90s art, 90s storytelling.
Excellent.
I think that means to you, Lane.
Oh, okay.
Have you read that recently? Or?
Not recently, but I mean, I'm going to go on when I read it originally.
Okay.
When it first came out. But I would say, well, for me, it was probably about 8 out of 10. Granted, this was probably only my 4th series in the Marvel Universe at the time.
Yeah.
I was mostly obviously drawn in by George Perez's freaking amazing artwork. Probably studied his covers and the artwork in the books for 2 weeks straight.
Smart man.
Just all the special effects with the gems and everything were just amazing, and how he drew all the faces and that you could tell each one apart just by looking at them. Like, they don't have to use their abilities. You just looked at them and knew who it was, with or without their masks. And like I said, I guess the only downside for me was I'm not, at least at the time, I was not really into the Galactic stuff. So I got lost on half of who they were.
Oh, yeah, the Galactic. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna. Oh God, Bryce, you asshole. The cosmic stuff was so incredible. Like getting all of the different galactic elements in there, like people that you never see, and getting them all in there at one time, at the same time. In fact, for a battle against Thanos, holding the Infinity Gauntlet. That was so great. It was like, why did you even have the Marvel heroes? You have, this living planet, and you have the In-Betweener, and you have Love and Hate, and you have Eternity, and you have, 2 effing Celestials.
Let's not forget what's it called? Not Nebula. What is the...
Taraxia?
Taraxia fucking just, pulled off Iron Man's head. Dude, that was incredible.
There's one scene after Taraxia pulls off Iron Man's head where you can see Iron Man's body, San's head, with blood splatter coming out of the neck.
Just chilling on the fucking planet.
Crazy.
Dude. Oh,
and in the same panel, there's Wolverine's rubber body just hanging. It's great. There's some crazy stuff. Anyway, the galactic stuff on a scale you have never since seen, I don't think, in the Marvel Universe. I'm sorry. I forgot to say that.
No, I agree. That's why I love too, where the sense of scale was there. Like you said, Thanos punked them all so easily. You never see that usually in a comic. It did make me go back and find out who all the Celestials were to figure out what the hell was going on. That was kind of interesting, but unfortunately, I'm not really into the space stuff. Never was. Although that did start if I'm not mistaken, they did start the Valentino Guardians of the Galaxy, right? After this, because they were getting rid of the gems.
It was on about the same time.
Yeah. So, and I actually love that series.
Well, they had the Warlock and the Infinity Watch was the
that's right.
The series that came out of this.
So I enjoyed those two, but they kind of kept it to only part of the galaxy, not the whole galaxy. So, and just the artwork, like you said, Lim, Perez, and
Well, Toby made it here for the last 2 minutes of the podcast.
Toby!
Hello!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, bro.
Toby, did you read Infinity Gauntlet?
That was due today. All right.
Toby, more appropriately, did you have a great Christmas?
I did.
And New Year's just in a day or two, so get ready. Get ready. It's going to be fun times.
Wait,
fun
what?
times.
What's happening in a couple days?
So Toby, when we record our next podcast next week, or it'll be in 2 weeks, you should read Infinity Gauntlet. You could tell us all about how much you enjoyed it.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Can I say one thing though? I'm so glad they changed Drax's costumes and his look.
I saw that.
He's got that old school Martian Manhunter look kind of going on a little bit.
Purple and green. And
He looks like a scroll.
Yeah.
You know what he was? He was the intergalactic Hulk. He is like the mind of a child.
Yeah.
He's a big green buff dude that is totally incompetent. And then they make
what
him
I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, wait. There was a scene where you make me think about that, where he's attacking Hulk. He's all, dude, I'm on your team. He's hitting everyone's attacking Thanos, and then Drax is getting Hulk. He's all, dude, I'm on your team.
Yes, exactly. And then they went on in Annihilation to make him
And then
so
Abbott and
badass,
Lanning-
where they make him
Abbott
like
and Lanning made him fucking amazing.
totally amazing. This total assassin, badass motherfucker.
Yeah, old school Drax is very different than what he is now.
Oh, he was such an idiot in this. And it was like, oh, good old Drax. And when they remade him, I was like, holy shit, this Drax is this is awesome.
There's an issue in the Rebirth of Thanos trade where it's Silver Surfer and Drax sitting around watching like I Love Lucy or something like that for like multiple pages. Yeah. It's really weird. It's really funny. Yeah.
There's this one scene. There's this one scene again. Like, there's so many great scenes from Infinity Gauntlet, and I'm going to say this. I hope to not steal your thunder because I know it's probably one of your highlighted moments. But it's when Strange is chilling with Wong and and they're like just hanging out together, talking story and shit.
Strange is gone.
Yeah, and then fucking he gets pulled into this other kind of like weird universe or weird not astral plane, but some other place because it's all yellow. And then it's really Warlock trolling on him. And he's like, oh, you don't believe me. Let me show you my soul. And they share each other's soul with each other. Like, for me, that was just like a cool moment. It's like in comics.
That's good stuff.
Cool moment, yeah, in quotes.
All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you, everyone.
Wrap up.
Why? Oh, yeah, Brock's
I
going
have
to pick. Brock's going to pick his pick.
I got to give something for the new year.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start out with something crazy for the new year.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
'Tis the season. Next.
You want? Let's come on.
Clone Trader Pack 2.
Yeah, but Bryce already made that joke.
I already made that joke, Toby. Hashtag show up earlier.
All right.
Wasn't that last week?
Hashtag make it a night where I can make it.
Good point. Yes, last week I made that joke.
I'm going to go with a book from Image.
Clone Train 2.
No. I'm going to go with Blue Estate.
Okay.
For any of you who...
That kind of just ended, huh?
It finished.
Did it finish?
It's
Okay.
3 trades. I mean, I'm just recommending the first one.
Oh.
I'm not pulling a
Not pulling a Bryce.
It's
At least it be 3
artwork-
trades, not 3 hardbacks.
No, it's just 3 trades.
You love every page, Toby.
I did.
I actually got into this book from the covers. The artist on the covers is amazing, and it had one had like a woman on a rocks glass with some whiskey, and then there was like one had a like bikini on with a gun smoking. The beautiful covers. But if you've ever seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. in it.
And Val Kilmer. His last good role.
Yeah. This is right up your fucking alley. It is hilarious. It's Hollywood. It's drugs. It's money. It's got termites in it.
Termites. You had me at termites.
But I highly, highly recommend this. It was kind of just a whim that I tried it. I think the first issue's free on Comixology. So... I think you can check out at least the first issue, but I recommend the first trade. Fun series, hilarious. I loved every second of it. I actually enjoyed it, despite me thinking I'm not really going to be big on this. But so that's what I can't pronounce the guy's name that writes it. It's some Russian name that's
Blue Estate.
So Blue Estate is what I recommend for kicking off the new year.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to end this year. Thank you, Ever, for coming. Thank you for being part of this podcast for the last year. We've had a lot of fun. Make sure, see you guys next week for another episode.
I can't wait
2014.
until 2 days from now when it's 2014.
I know. So exciting.
2014, baby.
Yeah. Toby, thank you for coming
showing up
for
late.
his 5 minutes
Last.
at the end.
Hey, better late than never, Tobias.
Hey.
Hey, at least this week we get the Infinite Long Box. Last week we didn't have it.
Yeah, but Charles not here.
No, he
This
still does
year.
the announcement.
Oh, yeah.
So here we are. Go to www.geekbox.net or comicsconspiracy.biz if you want to listen to our episodes. You also go to forums.geekbox.net and you can talk to us on there, or the Geekbox community forum group on Facebook. Go find us on there. It's all good stuff. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. That's our digital website. You can go find all sorts of great books on sale there. The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net. That's our email address. Send us some email. I'm sure we'll read a few on the air. We all have random things we do. Brock's got conspiratorBrock.com. Omar's got comicsanddecine.com. Charlie, who was here earlier but took off, has got the Infinite Longbox podcast at infinitelongbox.com. We're all on Twitter. Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock Sager is Brock Sager. Comics and Decine is Omar. Larsen Bryce is Bryce Larsen. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. Lane, thank you once again for joining us. We will be back
We actually forgot one thing.
next week.
We forgot
with a
one
new
thing.
episode.
What are you excited for next year?
I'm excited.
So go one thing.
Nah, it's fine. We'll do
always
excited
puts
comic
it off.
stuff next
Always
week.
puts
Well,
it
it's a long episode. It's comics and Infinity
Days of
Gauntlet.
Future
and
Past is
everything.
my answer.
Very long.
Yeah, we already did Days of Future Past. You already said that last week.
That's a comic one.
Oh.
Yeah, he's excited for the Days of Future Past
More
comic
X-Men.
book. Yeah. So, all right, thank you everyone, and we'll catch you next week.